Still got it, son.
Still got it. 25 years of being in a band together. We're only in a band 20 years. Lovely stuff. Hey.
Cheers for doing this, mate.
Cheers.
I appreciate it. Because if there's one thing, if we say we're going to do a podcast, 4 years later, we'll fucking do a podcast.
It's happening. It's happening. He's got his little jotter there.
I've got a jotter.
Yeah.
Water.
Velveeta, chewing gum, pen. Yeah.
Got it all. This podcast has it all.
It's like the desk of a killer, that. You can't lay it out.
But I do.
Are we just gonna? We're gonna sip at the same time every time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shitty. It was our little power play because you're the host. Dribbled there.
I should have been raised a little, shouldn't I?
Like a king.
Right. Yeah, I'm nervous. All.
Why?
I think it's just cameras and
I'm
microphones.
just not straight at the camera. That's a podcast. No, that's getting cut. Hey, thanks for the Buxton. Sponsored. How are you, sir? You all right?
Yes. I'm a little bit nervous, but I think it's just because it's been that long in the making.
It has. I still think the best one that we ever did was when we were just testing out these microphones and talking rubbish.
Yeah.
Not thinking about it.
Yes. I think that's the best way to go.
3 cameras set the wrong settings.
Yeah.
Which is my fault.
It's going to drive you nuts when I edit this.
Oh, no.
It is.
I've set them up. It's my fault.
Being the video expert that you are.
No.
But what I'm hoping, I think, from this podcast is that all of the 16 and 17-year-olds that I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I know,
yeah,
I think I know one 17-year-old.
Right.
Will be able to look at it and think.
But me, that. I'm inspired.
Ollie's a creative.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a bit of an idiot. Surely I can make something of myself.
Well, there you go.
So
I'm nothing to in touch with the kids, you know what I mean?
That's it.
Do you know what I mean? I'm inspiring the masses.
I think we both are, mate.
Yeah.
It's going well so far.
It's going good.
How's dribbling?
That was a good intro, that, though.
I know.
You've been up all night rehearsing that.
We'll cut that out.
You were like De Niro in Taxi Driver rehearsing that last night, weren't you, in the mirror? With your beanie on and your little mic.
Yeah.
Giving it big licks.
Yeah.
It paid off. Just
Cheers,
good, aye.
Thank you. Right, we'll catch you on the next one.
See you later. This one's shorts and TikTok things now, don't they?
Yeah. Cut that up.
Cut that. Print.
Right. So, Ollie,
Richard.
I'm going to have to do a serious bit.
Right.
Just to set the scene. So I apologise.
Do people who are watching this need to know that we've known each other for 20 years?
I mean, they won't care either way because there'll only be my mum watching it.
Right.
Possibly my sister.
Right. I don't know.
You got any friends or family you can
I wouldn't recommend
turn
this
on
to
to this?
Maybe if I get a birthday, Christmas present, I might tell them that it's this.
Yeah.
Soften the blow.
But yeah, we've known each other for, I mean, it must be bloody 25 years going on now.
20?
Is it 20 years?
Aye.
Oh, probably is.
70, aye. 20 years, aye.
So I met you.
I was 17 at the time, or 18.
Yeah.
20 years. The photo was up there.
There is.
That no one can see on camera. So.
There is. It's all right. I'll flash it up. I'll flash it up.
Now. There we go. The photo of the boys.
There we go. Yeah. Ollie was introduced to us when the singer of the band that we were setting up said, I know this very, very handsome, very talented drummer. We should get him in.
He's a little bit too enthusiastic.
He's quite short.
He is quite short.
He's very What he lacks in height, he makes up for in enthusiasm. So I'll get him in.
If he can't play the drum parts, he'll sort you out with badges and merchandise and a MySpace page. So get him in.
Yeah, and also he's a video guy, and funny enough, never shot one video for the band.
That was right.
Yeah,
I think I tried on 3 occasions to do a music video for us. One of them was Phil walking down the street with a girl. No, he was going to be chasing a girl down the street, wasn't he? Couldn't get away with that.
Looking back now, I'm glad that we didn't.
Couldn't get away with that now.
Pull that off.
We're going to shoot it in like Anitsford, weren't we?
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have gone down well. And then we're going to do another one in the club.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the idea was the club's packed out with 500 people and we're there playing. And then I realised probably knew about 15 people.
Yeah,
between
even on
us.
our best day we weren't.
And we had no budget, so
So it never happened.
it didn't happen.
But the band
unfortunately.
happened.
Yes.
And the friendship happened.
The friendship. Yes.
Yes. And although that wasn't the most important thing that could have happened, I'm still glad it did.
Good day.
Good night.
No word from our sponsors.
But we had a great time in the band.
Mate, we did. Some of my fondest memories being in that band.
Mine too, mate. Mine too.
Met a lot of lifelong friends, such as yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. It's probably the best time. You can't go back, can you?
But I want to. No, you can't go back all. And you haven't, son. You've skyrocketed to the moon on the back of a very inspirational video creation career.
Mate, that was a link. That was a link, brother. Beautiful.
Clink.
Yes. You've definitely been rehearsing that, haven't you?
I swear to God, mate, I haven't.
It's coming naturally. It's very good.
Maybe this is me calling.
I think so.
I am glad that we're doing this, though, because it's something I've wanted to do for ages.
I know. Well, we briefly set up a podcast company, didn't we? And did one podcast.
Yes, which was very good, though.
It was. I was very proud of that.
Yeah. So that set the groundwork for what I will continue to be a very average impersonation of that podcast,
Not
which
at
is
all.
really good.
Not at all.
So, yes, met when we were at uni,
Correct.
did the band thing.
Yeah. I was at uni doing video at the time.
Yes. I should say now what you actually do.
Right.
If I can describe it. Or maybe it's best
See,
you
this
describe
is
it.
where the weird, the Britishness in us comes out, where everything that you say that's slightly complimentary, I'm just deflecting it. Oh,
Yeah.
you're good at video. Oh. You made a career out of it. So yeah, I need to stop doing that.
Well, I'm finding it very awkward being serious about it.
Well, mate, let's just throw this out the window and we'll
Yeah.
just chat.
No, right, power through. I made some notes. Not because I don't know what you do. It's just because I knew I wouldn't remember. So stop as if I'm wrong,
Yes.
but you are a director, a videographer. What is a videographer? Would you class yourself as one?
No, not really.
What is a videographer then? I thought it was just literally anyone who does.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anything
I pretty much would.
It's a bit of an umbrella statement.
I would. Yeah, I'd put that down.
I should have put that in first because that covers everything else that I'm about to say. So I'll cross that off.
No,
He's not a videographer.
Keep it. I'd say director, editor,
Well, I've got editor down,
Yeah.
so I'm right there. Director, editor,
visionary.
yes, visionary,
Yeah.
handsome. Director of photography?
No,
Why?
because linking this back to your profession. I sail too close to the mic. Apologies if you're gonna have to bring that down the EQ. Yeah, see.
It's all right, it's my job.
All right. I'm sure you've got like an auto level.
Yeah.
So it would be a bit like saying that you mix.
Yeah.
So like you record and mix, and I know you do master, but that's like the dark art side of it. Do you know what I'm?
Yeah,
do
I don't know
I
what you mean. Yeah.
So I would say director of photography is a very specific niche, but very important job. But that entails like you know what you're doing really with lighting and like framing and camera position. Whereas going back to the videographer thing, like I would class myself more as that because the stuff that I shoot personally is probably more like a documentary type thing where I just turn up and film everything and then make something and edit.
Right.
As a director of photography, like if a director of photography was shooting this, it'd have like the window, like diffused, like a light through the window, there'd be lights down there, change the colour of those bulbs and like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they'd spend half a day just lighting this one room, whereas you being videographers, just chuck 3 cameras there, get the brews on the go, do you know what I mean?
Press record and see what happens.
It'll be. I guess that's probably the difference.
But then is it not fair to say that you have to have a little bit of
Yeah, you do.
that in
100%.
your tool bag?
Yeah, I
like-
think to be fair, all of the disciplines bleed into each other.
Yeah.
Whereas because I'm a director, I'm only a director I mean, this is just my personal case because I know directors who just direct. But for me, I only direct because I'm an editor. So like when I'm on set, I'm not directing. I'm thinking, right, I need these 10 things for this edit.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling people what I need for the edit. So, and then, again, the whole director photography thing, that does bleed into the directing and editing thing because I'll be like, well, I need this scene to look this way and I need it lit like this way because I know the next scene's going to be lit like this. So there's a lot where it bleeds in. It'll be the same with you, like recording and mixing. You'll be like, well, rather than spend ages mixing a snare, when I'm recording it, I'll just record it this way so it's closer to the final output that I want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
It'd be like, when that'll be easier to master. So it's kind of, I feel like, although you've listed a lot of things there, I feel like you have to know a bit about every field really to be able to do all of the jobs.
Yeah, totally. Because I think this is kind of what I wanted to get out of this podcast, and hopefully I'll be speaking to
some better people.
Other video. Just more interesting.
Some professionals.
Not better, just more interesting.
Yeah, totally.
No, but like, you know, I've said I want to get like Dave on because he does, what I'll call my Dave because he does marketing.
Aye.
Your Dave because he's got the record label.
Aye.
Just people from all sorts of professions.
And do you know what's really funny about it? So a shout out to Drum with Mike and Eddie that I listen to quite a lot, their podcast. So it's about drumming, obviously it says it in the title, but they don't actually talk anything really to do with drums. It's more about like the mental health aspect of it and like kind of getting your head in a certain zone when you're doing a creative thing, and it kind of resonates with any field. That's why I listen to it, because it could be applied doing photography, video, running a business, making coffee. Do you know what I mean? It's like all the same thing. So going back to what you just said, I think that's a brilliant idea, because if you've got like someone from marketing, you've got Dave, you've got a record label, I guarantee you will all talk about exactly the same things.
Yeah.
And like going, I don't want to point to Dave like he's there, but like even Dave, like having the record label, he runs a record label, but he's got knowledge of like artwork, he's got knowledge of like marketing, he's got knowledge of social media, he's got knowledge of photography, video.
Yeah.
Like any job that you do, you've kind of got to have knowledge of other things that can bleed into it.
Especially like when you do it. I mean, it'll be the case if you're like employed by someone, but I think anything you undertake yourself, you end up having to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, 100%. And
that's what I was
100%.
That's what I was wanting to get out of this, because like I've listed all those things there. Like I've got, I mean, you do photography.
Yeah.
You're a colour grader as well.
Yeah.
So all of these things are individual jobs, but I think that's where some people get a bit confused when they want to get into something.
Yeah,
because they'll
where to start.
They'll see a list of things like that and probably think, oh, do I want to be a director?
Yeah.
Because if I want to be a director, then I've got to learn to be a director.
Yeah.
Or the same with like an editor.
Yeah.
Do I just sit down at a laptop and edit?
Yeah.
And it's not really like that.
No,
in the real world, it's more like you've just got to get out there and get your hands on a project.
Yeah, mate, that's 100% right. And it's like I often wonder now, if I had a quote unquote business and I had to hire someone, like I think job roles are like redundant. Because like I could never say to someone, I want an editor. Well, what does that entail? It's like, I need you to edit. I might need you to color grade. I might need you to do this. I might need you to do that. And I might need you to do like have knowledge of social media. It's like I think the classic like job role title is like redundant now, because like you say, you've got to wear so many hats. And like any job, like if you in marketing, like you might have to shoot some stuff yourself. So you've got to be like proficient in shooting. You've got to be proficient in like presenting, because you might have to do stuff on camera. Then you'll have to know social media. You'll have to edit those videos, color grade. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so every job you've kind of, in this modern day, you've kind of got to have a plethora of skills to do anything really. So it's like, although you've listed like 8 things that I do, like you could easily bundle them up into one job and be like, I'm a director. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like the same if you were like, for Dave, when you get your Dave on for marketing, you can easily say marketing, but like I'm sure he does 20 other jobs that you could like subdivide marketing into. Yeah, he does. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if you thought of marketing, you'd think, I don't know what you think exactly. I don't even know what I think, but I know that he does Photoshop stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He's creative in it, but he also knows how to write a blog post or do SEO for websites.
Yeah.
It's just so broad.
Oh, 100%. And which I love, though. It's like, I've got, like, my mate Eddie's got, like, a sneaker company. And, like, yeah, he sells sneakers, but, like, he's come up with the branding. They do, like, videos every day, and they've got, like, their own unique style to it. Like, just a website. It's just, like, it's a non-stop hustle. Yeah. And I think it comes, I mean, the key thing here is, like, just saying, like, my mate Eddie's got the sneaker company. Like, he was a drummer in a band. Like, me and you've been in bands. Dave was in bands. I think if you come from a certain background that, like, instills, like, a DIY mentality in you. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, well, I need to do this. All right, well, I'll just learn how to do it. And it's like us in the band, it's like, you want to put on a show, you don't employ someone to do events. You just be like, right, I'll put on a gig. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. If I need merch, I'll just get merch done. We'll record it myself. It's just like, I think from an early age, going back to the start of how we met 20 years ago, like, we come from a similar background where we're very much like why ask someone else to do it for us?
Almost like you don't even want to ask someone else to do it. Yeah, you want to try it.
Yeah, and I think like, me and you are very similar. Where, like, I mean, even now, like, you're shooting this podcast, it's because it's quite exciting to think, right, I want to pick up a camera and learn how to use that camera. Yeah. It's like, it's almost a hobby to a point. Yeah. So it's weird when you were listing those things, because most of those are just like hobbies that I've just like colour grading, like, well, I'm going to learn how to colour grade, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then when you list it as like a professional thing, it's like the imposter syndrome kicks in a little bit, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because, well, that's the thing, because I know that there's some stuff on there, like colour grading must be another one where it is like the equivalent in audio would be like mastering or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
Where generally you'd send that off to someone else to get something mastered. Yeah. I'm assuming that's the same with colour grading, but that's something pretty much you do.
That's pretty much it. And it's like, and I think the similarities between our profession, it's like they're both a journey, a creative journey. And it sounds like really cliche, but
it's there though, isn't it?
Yes, I've said it now. But what I mean is, like, recording, like, you set mics up, you'll record a band, like, you'll mix it, you'll master it. Same with me. You set the cameras up, you shoot it, you'll edit it, you'll colour it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you're either like me or you, where you kind of have a touch point in that whole journey. Mm-hmm. Or if it gets to a bigger production, you'll get someone else to film it, someone else to do the editing, someone else to do the colour grading. Yeah. But, like, I think a lot of stuff that we've worked on, like, when there's not money to do that, you're just like, well, I've obviously recorded it, I'm going to mix it. And then because I've mixed it, I want it to sound the best it can, so I'm going to master it. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah, that's the point, that, because I know when I first, like, opened the studio, I wasn't mastering at that point. So it was, I'd mix the track and then give it back to them, to the band or the artist. But then it would be like, I don't know, not a letdown. The mix would be as good as I could get it, but it's almost like the client or the band or whatever, I think they just want it ready to go.
Yeah, 100%. They don't want and not only that, like, for me, I've got, like, I don't know if it's because I'm an only child, but I've got this weird control thing inbuilt when it comes to, like, creative stuff. So, like, if I've shot it, it's like, no, I'll edit it, because I don't trust anyone else to edit it, because they'll absolutely butcher it. Yeah. So I'll do the edit. And then it's like, yeah, but then I want to colour it because I want it to look the best it can. And if I send it to someone else, it's a back and forth, and they mightn't get it, and it might go out looking terrible. So it's like, there is an element of me wanting to control that whole project.
The whole thing. Yeah.
But you're right, there are times when you've kind of got to let go of the leash a little bit and let other people...
Oh, definitely, like, if it's for the good of the...
And I'll hold my hands up. I'm like, for like 15 years or whatever, I shot everything that I ever did. And then I met, like, Steve and Ali. You should get Steve and Ali on, because they would be great, by the way.
That's a shout there.
And then after shooting with them once, it was like, okay, like, here's someone who is amazing. So, like, why would I shoot it myself? Yeah. And it's just like building up that team around you. Yeah. So, like, going back to the start of that, I know, like, you've listed like 8 things that I do. But I feel like to progress in your career, I'm pleased I've done all of that, because I've got knowledge in all of those fields. So now that allows me to gauge when someone else comes along and is much better at that thing than me. Yeah. And it allows us to have that, like, open conversation with them, because it's not, like I'm a director who hasn't edited, and then I'm having to talk to an editor and going, so what do you do? Can you do it like this? It's like, no, I've edited. Like, I know how to edit, so I can have that like shorthand with someone. And so yeah, I think it's good to understand all of those touch points. And yeah.
Do you find like with that, say if you're talking to someone who, because you've shot something, and like you said, you like work with Ollie.
Yeah.
Do you find it's just easier to get a job done the way that you're looking at something from like the end product backwards?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you can like quickly like explain what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And do you find when you do that, whoever you're working with is receptive to that?
Yeah, well, that's why I've struck gold with Ali, to be honest, because we've got exactly the same taste, like exactly the same taste. To the point where like every day we send each other like 3 or 4 things that we've seen on like Vimeo or YouTube or Instagram or whatever. So we've got because we've worked for like a few years together, we've got such a shorthand now where we'll be on set and I'll be like, oh, give us a shot like this, and he'll know exactly what I mean. He'll be like, yeah, sweet, done.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like someone new, I'd be like, have to get a reference up and be like, okay, so I want to shoot it like this, and on this lens it has to be lit like this, and blah blah. So I've just struck gold with Ali, to be honest, because we've got, there's never any clashes because we've got exactly the same kind of taste and like visual aesthetic that we're both kind of like chasing for. So it's like, it's good. We kind of love working with each other because he totally raises my game by shooting some amazing stuff. Mm-hmm. And you probably can't put this in what I'm about to say, but I know from experience he shot some amazing stuff and then it's been let down where the edit's terrible and then the grade's awful. And then he's like, well, I don't want to put it out because that doesn't kind of like showcase my work.
To be fair, I think we've all been there.
Right.
I know I've been the guy who like gets stuff sent to do something.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, thanks, but no thanks.
Aye.
So, which is probably another point actually to bring up, because you get a lot of that, don't you?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like as you trying to build a career or whatever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's
quite a lot of knockbacks.
There's a lot of knockbacks. Yeah, and it's so disheartening because like that's the thing. It's not like we're going to work every day and building like the foundations of a conservatory.
Yeah.
Like, no disrespect to people who build walls, but it's like you go to work, you know what to expect. You know, it's almost like, I mean, I know they graft hard, but it's almost like paying by numbers. Like you're doing a wall each day. Whereas like with a creative thing, it's so like every project's so different and it's problem solving really at the end of the day. And you put your heart and soul into it. So when someone comes back and says, oh yeah, I don't like it, because it is a subjective thing as well. Yeah. Like, not sound pretentious, but it is kind of art. Like, do you know what I mean? If like if someone if they don't like it, like you can't really argue.
I find that makes it easier thinking about it that way. Like, because it is subjective. Like I can do a mix for someone, and like these days at least, not when I was a bit younger and kicking off, but these days I can just look at it and go like, yeah, they might not like it. Yeah. Because you're doing something in your style. Yeah, totally. And I think that definitely comes from experience, that 100%. Because I know back in the day, like I would absolutely kill myself to do a music video for a band, and like I'd put my own money into it and spend like 3 weeks like doing it, and it was absolutely drain you. And then they come back and be like, yeah, I don't like it, and it would ruin you, and you'd be like, right, I never want to do a music video ever again. Speaking of which, and I'd love to like, I don't know if I'd be allowed to put it in, but if I am allowed to put it in, it's on now. More, if I stumble, I keep running. More, if I stumble, I keep running. More, if I stumble, I keep running. More, I keep running for. But the video you did it was it was years ago, like probably one of the first ones you ever did, but it was for Think Fire.
Oh God, yeah.
I love that video, mate.
What, the one where Barry's dressed as a robot? And Bruce is doing the power
Bruce,
walking.
yeah, sorry, that's the one. Yeah.
That was one of my favourite videos ever.
I love that video, mate. Even though it was like, I don't know what you shot it on. Probably something like
it was
what
a
this wide's
VHS.
on.
It's still one of my favourite videos. So I was absolutely cock-a-hoop to do a music video for this band. Like, approached them and was like, because I saw them supporting Funeral for a Friend and like a couple of other bands.
Yeah.
Got talking to Bruce on MySpace, I think it was. And I was like, yeah. I was at uni at the time. Yeah. I'll do you guys a music video. Never done a music video in my life. So I borrowed the camera from uni, which was like an old like mini DV tape camera. And like my dad's mate had like a flying school. So he let me use the aircraft hangar. So the lads drove down from Glasgow, like stayed at my mum and dad's, went to this aircraft hangar and it was like proper windy. So the bloke was like, I'll wheel these little planes out on the tarmac, like you can shoot for like an hour. And then I'll get everything and then I'll have to go. But obviously having no experience and shot everything, I was like, an hour? It's plenty of time, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So by the time it was set up, that was like half an hour. And then I think I had time to do like 4 angles or something of this. Like, it was terrible.
Yeah.
All on a tripod, just like press and record. Didn't know how to use a camera. So I didn't know about like exposure, white balance. There was just 4 random shots. So I did it, and then the lads were buzzing because it was like their first music video. They're like, yeah, I've shot a music video.
Yeah.
And then I think we went out to like digital afterwards, and like all the lads were like cracking on to like to lasses and that. And like, yeah, we're doing from Glasgow. You shot our first music video, man. It's awesome. That's the wee guy here, the wee director, right? I was like, all right, aye. Thinking I've just shot 4 angles on a mini DV tape, and I've like pitched this as like the Dark Knight Rises. You know what I mean?
These guys have no idea how shit this is going to be.
It was terrible. So like I sent them an edit, and at the time, I don't know if have you heard of Andrew Kramer? So he's like this YouTube guy, and he basically just taught people how to use After Effects. So it was all like mad visual effects where you could replace eyes and like do all mad stuff. And he had this pack out, like you download this pack and you put it in After Effects and it would just be like these mad patterns.
I'm remembering the edit now.
Yeah, it was terrible. So like I was like, how can I spice this up? I was like, when they start playing, these patterns are just gonna appear on the wall. And mate, it was awful. So I remember going up to Glasgow for a night out, and like I took an edit to show the guys. And I've never been in a room where everyone was more underwhelmed. Really? I mean, I think I spent 6 weeks on it because I was using like Sony Vegas. I didn't have any editing software, so I put it in Sony Vegas. It just looked dog shit. Like it was like 5 Glaswegian blokes in a really cold aircraft hangar in December, and that was it. It was terrible. So yeah, they were like, oh, right, it's a good day. Do you want to come up and do another video? I was like, and weirdly at the time, I used to go to like Glasgow like every weekend to hang out with them. It was mad. Well, you know what I was like with
you were a good mate with them.
Think File. I try to get them on every gig. So I think File. I was obsessed by them. I thought they were class. So I went up and they were like, do you want to reshoot that video? I was like, yeah, cool. And they were like, oh, well, mate, I think it's called Ross. Like, mate, Ross is at uni. He's got a camera. He'll come and meet with, and we'll just shoot something. And I remember being in that practice space. It was like 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, oh, what should we do for the video? And I remember my heart sank because at the time it was like all these bands blowing up on like Kerrangs, like Lost Prophets and blah, blah. So in my mind, I'd pitched to be like the biggest music video ever. Because you know what the production was like on that songs? It was like next level.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it's going to be the best thing ever. And then Bruce was like, I've got these little hot pants. Why don't I just power walk around Glasgow to this song? And I was like, no. And then Barry was like, no. I went to fancy dress as a robot. I made my own costume. I'll just get that from my house and we'll just shoot that. And I was like, no storyboard or concept or anything. So this is 10 o'clock at night. Then we went to like Tesco 24 and just like bought loads of props and stuff. Stayed up till like it got light till like 4 or 5 in the morning, and then just started shooting. And I was like, what we're shooting? He's like, we'll just make it up. So everything in that video was completely made up. Like the band were like,
I love that.
Oh man, and it was, looking back, best experience of my life ever.
Yeah.
And the band were like oh, we'll probably need a cameo from like Lewis and like the drummer and the bass player and stuff. So I was just like, well, why don't we just stick them on a swing in a park and you can just power walk through? They were like, yeah, cool. So the whole day was just Bruce power walking around Glasgow and was shot. And then I was trying to think of an end, and I was like, well, why doesn't this robot suddenly try and chase you but can't catch up with you because you're power walking dead seriously? And then you run him over with a car. Like, genius. And then that was one of the most fun, freeing, it's probably my favourite music video I've ever done.
Yeah, because even though it was like you say, just shot on like a...
Oh, it's terrible.
Just like a VHS camcorder type of thing.
So fun.
Before it was like...
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, before it was retro to do that. But it was just that... I don't know, does that not say a lot about like leaving enough room to actually be creative?
Yeah.
And on the day? Because I know it must be difficult. Like, I know in the studio... It's probably a bit easier to do that if you're recording a band or whatever.
Yeah.
To like leave enough room to kind of say, oh, well, we can try that.
Yeah.
But because when you're shooting a video, there's so many like moving parts.
Yeah, not only that, I suppose when you're recording a song, there's a format in it.
Yeah.
Say, I'm going to record drums, I'm going to record this. Whereas when you're shooting a music video with no concept, it is like, what do you do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But going back to the whole, that it being fun, the only reason it was fun was because I had a great relationship with the guys and it was totally collaborative. It was like their idea and they were up for anything. I mean, like Bruce was like in December in like little hot pants power walking, and that was his idea. So it was like, it was fun because I've been on shoots before where no one's got any idea. And as a director, everyone looks to you and be like, so what are we doing? And you've got that pressure of like, oh God, I don't know. I'm a people pleaser. I want to make sure everyone's happy and it's the best thing ever. Whereas that was the other way around. It was like, oh, why don't we do this? And I'm like, yeah, cool. And I think that's why it was so fun. It was like a complete collaboration and everyone was having fun. Do you know what I mean? Everyone was just bouncing off each other and it was just such a good vibe.
So did you take, because that was like, I mean, God, that was
15 years ago, maybe 20 years. Well, I was at uni, so it's 16 years ago.
Yeah. So that was really early on when you were doing stuff.
Yeah.
So did you take that with you basically? Did you learn a lot of lessons from that going forward?
Yes and no. Yes, I did, in terms of I realised that I could think on my feet a little bit. Like had an idea on the fly, be like, let's shoot that. That'll work. And I was also spoiled because I thought every video was like that, where you would just shoot with your mates and it was going to be super fun.
Right.
And then you get to another shoot with a band that you don't really know and you've got no ideas, and then it's like the opposite. It's total pressure where everyone's looking at you, be like, what are we doing? Yeah. So, yeah. Swings and roundabouts. Honestly, it was great. Loved it.
So I think that's good stuff, because I think hopefully anyone who's wanting to get into video stuff, hearing that, they'll know that like, oh, well, I could just like get in with a band or something.
Yeah, and even just
get some mates together, just do something off the fly.
Well, that's it. It doesn't have to be music videos, just
anything.
I mean, look at this. It's just me and you hanging out, doing something. Just get your phone, like meet your mates, do something for you. Like, you don't have to wait for someone to come and ask you. Just get your phone and just get it done.
So what do you think is a good transition from that to actually finding a way to make money from what you do? Because I think that's the sticking point, is people will look for jobs. Like I did when I was at uni, I was looking for studio work and there was just none to be had.
Yeah.
So then it's like you get out of uni or whatever, you fall into a job.
Yeah.
And you might land on your feet. Like I was really lucky, like the job that I landed in out of uni.
Yeah.
But you could easily land in something that you absolutely hate.
Exactly.
And then you're kind of like stuck in that and there's no career path. And then I think that's where people's dreams basically kind of like die.
Well, we've talked about it. Like I was the same. Like you leave uni and you get this nice little safety net of getting paid in a pension, and you've got your routine every day, and it's so difficult to get out of that. But like what I did was I just had that, and I just on weekends and on evenings I was like constantly just doing video.
Yeah.
And then until one day I hated my job that much, I just used it to fuel my thing of like, oh well, I'm
going to do this now.
Yeah. But I think the takeaway from it is it's like no one's ever going to give you the opportunity. You just have to just do it yourself.
Yeah.
And like even now, I would never say that like, oh yeah, I did it and I'm successful. Like not at all. Like, I'm still on that path of like trying to do Picking up like better stuff.
But I think like what I found doing the studio, because I think even when I was like opening the studio, in the back of my mind it was like, why no one's going to come to Chilton and record their music here. But they did.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, at the time I didn't even really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But you just kind of make it work. And the takeaway kind of is you just got to like, if you do it and you give it some conviction, it'll totally work.
Oh, 110%. The weirdest thing for me is like I've been on some big video shoots where there's been like 80 people there, right? And I've got the worst imposter syndrome ever.
I'm just going to drop it in there.
You drop it in.
Dubai. You've been to Dubai?
Mate.
Filmed Kate Hudson. The Kate
What
Hudson.
was that like the 2 weeks before? You remember when I went to see Marmosette's?
Oh, yeah.
And I was telling you about it, and I was like, I hope it gets cancelled. So, like, I don't have to be like a big puddle of anxiety for 2 weeks. So, it looks cool on the website and saying, I did this, but like, mate,
the stress,
the imposter syndrome and anxiety was wild. Like,
but
like, even on that shoot, I find often it's like, oh, I'm going to get rumbled. People are going to know that I'm just making it up. I don't know what I'm doing. I've like lied me way into this situation. And then half the time I get on set and I look around and there's like 80 people. Everyone's learning.
Everyone's in the same boat.
Everyone's like still on the journey of wanting to get where they want to go career-wise. Everyone's like just hustling to make it happen. Do you know what I mean? So like when I go into a situation thinking I'm surrounded by 80 people who are absolute pros and know everything, it's like I look around and I'm like, half of these kids are students who like have never been on a set before and they're still learning and don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that proper calms me anxiety. It's just like, all right, cool. Like, I feel a bit safer because like everyone's exactly in the same boat.
Because it's always the bit like for me, like mental health wise.
Yeah. What's crippling that?
It is, man. Like the so.
Because it's a battle with yourself. It's never other people.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like, it's the battle of I'm not good enough. I don't know what I'm doing. I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve to be here. And that's when you get, like I say.
But has that ever stopped you? Because it stops me all the time from like doing projects that I would want to do. I mean, this podcast is a prime example. Like I've put it off for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Just because of mental health shit.
Yeah. But
and like not having the confidence.
But it's important to talk about it. Like it's so important to talk about it.
Oh, for sure.
Because going back to what I was saying about that podcast, the Mike and Eddie thing, it's like, mate, you can work in a bakery and you can be going through the same things mentally as someone who's like, shooting Metallica. Do you know what I mean? It's like we'll all go through it. Doesn't matter what you do.
But do you find that like not so much the like doing this now, I had anxieties about. Just the same as like some, I don't know, people have asked us to like do I don't know, like record bands at another studio, for example, that I'm not familiar with. And I'm like, I really want to do that, but then my anxiety kicks me ass and I end up not doing it.
Well, mate, 100%. There's times I've been offered some amazing stuff and I've thought about it for I'm not going to say I thought about it for 2 days. I literally lay on the floor in crippling anxiety, sweating and crying for 2 days about like the same thing. It's like shooting on a camera I've never shot on, like on YouTube, and an absolute stress thing. I don't know how to use this. I'm going to walk in and I'm not going to know how to turn it on. Everyone's like, I'm going to get found out. And then after 2 days, I've just like emailed and said, oh, sorry, another project's come up. I'm going to be busy. Yeah. And then just the way the world drains away. And it's 9 times out of 10, and I've said this to you, if you get offered like a big project, like I'm almost crossing my fingers and hoping that they cancel it, so I'm not the one who has to cancel.
Yeah.
So it goes away, but at least I still got asked to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I can still tell my mates I got asked to do this thing, you know?
Do
you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
But I don't actually have to go through the whole like mental health anxious journey of actually doing it. And to be fair, if I had have said yes to it, I'm sure it would have been fine. But
it's always the build-up, isn't it?
It's the build-up in your head,
and
imposter syndrome, and
yeah. So say when you got asked to go to Dubai, and there's all these like, I mean, it's facts. Like there was like movie stars on set that you were shooting.
Mate, it was wild, like.
So you were obviously like anxious as fuck about.
Oh, mate, aye. It was another thing. It was like, I mean, I even told you, it was like, everyone was flying from LA to Dubai. I was the only person flying from the UK. So I'm going into Dubai on my own, no paperwork, camera equipment. I was like, I didn't even think I was going to get into the country, to be honest. That was the first anxious step.
Yeah.
I couldn't take my camera with us. I had to like put it in a suitcase and put it like, check it in. So I was like, that's never coming with us. So there was like all of these elements before I'd even got there of like...
Of then doing the job.
Yeah, there was so many things that could have gone wrong.
Aye. So how did you... I don't know, how did you get through that? Because I'm just thinking from like, if I had to do that.
Aye. It was almost like I don't know, like if I was skydiving or bungee jumping, it was just like, I've just got to throw myself into it. I was like, if it goes wrong, like I even did this, I was like, if it goes wrong, I'll make sure I've got enough money to buy my camera again. Do you know what I mean? I think the other thing with anxiety is, you know yourself, you come up with 300 scenarios of what's going to go wrong, and then you try and solve all of these scenarios in your head. That'll never happen. But then, so I basically just exhausted myself to the point where it's like, I just gave in. I was like, yeah, I'll go. If it's terrible, meh.
Yeah.
I think, like cool. I've said to you before, it's like a blessing or a curse, anxiety sometimes. Like sometimes it can totally cripple you and like, I'll not want to leave the house or do a job or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times it's like a superpower where it's like that. It's like, if I'm going to do a shoot and I don't know what to expect, the anxiety kicks in. It's like, well, what if this goes wrong? What if this goes wrong? What if this goes wrong? So then you turn up and set, and it's like you've solved 500 problems in your head.
Yeah.
I mean, you fucking shattered. You haven't slept for 2 weeks thinking about these 500 things that would go wrong. What if the window falls out? I've got gaffer tape for that. Do you know what I mean? Like stuff that would never happen.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like a superpower where it keeps you going through a shoot. And I've done stuff before, like after I came back from Dubai, I think it was like 2 days later, I came round here to yours,
mm-hmm.
and was sat having a cuppa and that. And then the next day, I think I was in bed for 2 days because I think I came around to see you and I was telling you all about it. And then because I wasn't anxious about the job anymore, like my body just completely shut down.
Yeah,
I feel like I have
adrenaline dump type of thing.
I feel like I have two states, like hyper anxious, where it's almost like a hyper focus, or like completely just like exhausted because I've been super anxious for like weeks.
Yeah. So actually, I'm just gonna have a quick check just to make sure that.
Cool. Get in, son.
Are you alright for time?
Oh, mate, I loads of time. I'm just trying to link everything back to your questions. Because you're like, yes, you went to Dubai. Tell us about that filming thing. I'm like, right, I was anxious about this, and I didn't sleep.
Perfect, mate. To be fair,
because I think that's the other thing that people. Because when you asked us to do this, I think. No, I'm alright. I think the thing that I'm conscious about is like I watch so many podcasts with like some of my heroes who are like directors, editors, whatever, and obviously they talk about like all the great stuff they've done, anecdotes and stuff. I think it's important to just note that like everyone's fumbling through. Do you know what I mean? I kind of want to like debunk the myth that just because you've done something cool doesn't mean you know what you're doing. Like you can still just grab your phone and start shooting. Like don't be put off by or intimidated by what someone else has done. I
think that's a great point, mate, because for ages I think I hamstrung myself by like trying to copy all these like techniques and sounds, like certain snare vibes and all this shite that does get popular, and it'll be the same with video, like certain aesthetics that are like everywhere, and you think I've got to be doing that, but then it's always the one guy who's like doing the exact opposite of that. Who's like who makes the difference? Who like everyone wants to go and record with or wants to have film their stuff. Like even if it's just like, I don't know, just as an example. I know this is kind of like old hat now, but if everyone's using super high res digital cameras or whatever, like speed ramping and all that kind of stuff, everyone's doing that. But then someone turns up with a camcorder, gets this really cool vibe, does totally their own like little thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that stands out now. So don't get wrapped up in like the...
Yeah, just like it, and it's true with any art form. It's like, look at music, like new metal is massive, and like everyone was doing that.
Still is, man.
And then whatever's in the underground, like indie or whatever, it's be like, well, that market's saturated. So like what people always look to like the underground. It's like when everyone was shooting on mad film cameras and like it was like 8K super high def blah blah, and like now the vibe is like everyone's gone back to shooting on film, like 16mm film.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like, and it'll always be like waves like that. So yeah, I think you're right. It's like don't jump on bandwagons, just try and like
find your own little.
Yeah, I mean obviously like I'm a bit of a magpie where I like to like pick stuff that kind of excites us.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not saying to like don't be influenced.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, influence.
Yeah.
But don't like just straight up.
Don't
copy.
let it take over. Like you having your own little identity or like carving out.
Which is weird
because
because like when I started, like I only like because I started like loving music videos. Like that's how I got into wanting to do this. It's like had MTV and like. I like to think we were part of like the golden age of music and music videos. Do you know what I mean? Like the 2000s,
which is what everyone
says. Yeah, everyone says. Yeah, but like I was just mesmerized by MTV because like the budgets they had for music videos back then was like millions, wasn't it? Even like the rubbish ones like Saliva, insert the Saliva video here. You know when he's like playing guitar like that. Like, that must have been like £1 million. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to do music videos, and then. I had like 5 or 6 music videos that I loved. They're like favorite videos. I used to watch them all the time. So before I'll send you the link and you can drop them in here. And this is before I had like a camera, and I was like, I'd love to do music videos. And I was at work one day and I just Googled who directed all of these 6 music videos, and I'll just shoot like an email off to each one of them, just saying I love your work. Like I'd love to get some experience and like shadow you. So I Googled them all, and it was by the same bloke.
Was it?
And I was like, this is weird. Like, my favourite 6 music videos done by the same bloke. So I emailed his producer and I was like, look, absolutely love his work. Like, it's inspired us to want to go and buy a camera and like do music videos. Like, if he's ever shooting in the UK, I'd love to come along. Like, I'll sweep the floor. I'll make tea and coffees. I'll do like whatever. And I got an email back from his producer, Amber, who's like one of my best friends now. And she was like, oh, he has Tim's like personal email address. Just email him. Like I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. So like I emailed his producer, Amber, who's like one of my best friends now, weirdly. And she said, "Oh, here's Tim's personal email address. Like send him an email. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you." So I emailed Tim, giving it like big licks, like, "Oh, favorite video director. Love all your stuff. Blah blah blah." And so he was like.
Not well, was he?
He was not well. No, he was not well. So he was like, yeah, wicked. Send us a link to like some of your stuff, some of your work. I was like, oh, brilliant. So I sent him like 2 videos I'd done that were terrible. And bless him, he was like super complimentary, saying like, yeah, really good, really good. And then we started like being like quite good mates, and he used to get us along to shoots, and like we used to shoot together. And I remember him saying once, I sent him a video I'd done for a band. And he was basically replied saying like, yeah, it's good, but like you're just completely copying my style. And,
really?
And mate, it absolutely destroyed us, like, because it was like my hero.
Yeah.
But looking back, mate, I was a complete like carbon copy rip off.
Do you think you needed to hear that?
Yeah, 100%. And but going back to what you were saying about like certain trends and everyone doing the same trends, like back in the day. Because all of my favourite music videos he'd done, it was like the equivalent of if I was a musician and all I listened to was Elvis 24/7.
Yeah.
So then I started writing songs like Elvis, and then I became best friends with Elvis, who would be like, yeah, you're good, but you sound like me. It's like, well, no doubt my work was like Tim's because I just watched his videos like constantly. But I wish back then like I'd diversified a bit and watched like all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's the things like people kind of jump on a bandwagon because I guess they're kind of consuming a certain style of be it music or be it like, do you know what I mean? It's like if you want to be, I don't know, like a grime artist and all you listen to was grime, like some of the best musicians now, like if you look at Stormzy, it's like his new album's got like loads of like slow ballads on. He's got influences from elsewhere. So it's like consume all sorts is what I would say.
But it must be it's tricky as well, isn't it? Because as much as I've been saying there before about like getting your own kind of style, then when you do start getting paid for work, it's almost like maybe not so much. I don't know. Maybe it's different in the studio because bands come with their own style.
Yeah, yes.
But with video stuff, especially like probably on the commercial side of stuff, I guess they don't want something that's totally unique.
Yeah.
They want something that's tried and tested.
Yeah, totally. It's weird. Like, so I would say that brands now and doing like commercial stuff, which is what I prefer to music videos. Like brands now are the new rock stars.
Yeah.
Because like bands have no money for music videos. So if they've got 500 quid for a music video, they don't want this mad unique thing. They're like, well, I want to perform in a warehouse because it works and I've seen Metallica do it.
Yeah.
Whereas like brands like Nike now, because they've got so much money, they're like, yeah, just try shooting this mad thing on film, like with a fisheye. It's cool. Do you know what I mean?
So it's actually like, that surprises us a little bit actually.
Yeah,
because I don't know. I think most people would probably assume that like
it was the other way around.
They would come into it like the bigger the brand.
Yeah,
they would come in and want to like have more control over how it's going to end up looking. But it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, it's totally. I mean, unless it's like a massive brand like Apple, where it's like we have to be presented in a certain way. But I think a lot of like clothing brands like Nike and North Face and stuff, they know that they've got such like a young audience that are kind of consuming a lot of different content.
Yeah.
And obviously with things like TikTok and Instagram, there's a lot of content that is very similar. So it's obviously the one something that's going to completely stand out. And like you were saying, like if everyone's doing a certain thing, they kind of want that underground thing that no one's doing because it kind of makes you turn your head and be like, oh, that's different.
I suppose the bigger the brand as well, like it's almost like immediate, what's the word? Like if Nike come out with something that's like totally left field, it's like, well, it's Nike, so automatically that's popular now.
Yeah.
That's a popular style now.
Well, that's the other thing. It's like going back to like having a unique style. You can only have a unique style for like 5 minutes because then everyone who's doing this thing over here then looks and be like, oh, what's he doing over there? And he's getting a lot of traction. Like let's shift over there.
Yeah.
And then that gets saturated. And then you've got to think of something else that's unique. And so it's like, it's a perpetual thing.
So I think this will be helpful as well for my mum who's watching, the only one. So if you were to like take like a year of your work, or like even 6 months, whatever, what would that look like? Like from where you are in your career at the moment? Because it must be quite diverse. You must have like a lot of stuff to make up. I think basically I'm asking because I think a lot of people get into their head, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be doing work. I'm going to be like doing work for brands. Or I'm going to be like doing music videos.
Yeah.
But what does like actually when you're self-employed like you are, how does like 6 months of work look for you typically? So
a lot of it is stuff to pay the bills that no one sees.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it, probably like 75%, 80%, which is fine. Do you know what I mean? I like a lot of my friends who do some massive stuff. It's like, you're not going to be doing a massive video every week. Like you're just not. Do you know what I mean?
So what's this like? Is this kind of just people sending you edits for like little social media stuff?
Just edits and like just shooting like branded content for like smaller businesses, for like internal stuff that's never going to be seen. Loads of corporate stuff. And like, there's always like this stigma attached to corporate stuff where people be like, oh, corporate stuff sell out. It's like, nah, man, like pays the business and helps you have enough money to pay the bills. So then when a big creative job comes in, like a Nike thing, like you can devote 3 weeks to it, like write a treatment and like try stuff out. And like honestly, love corporates, man. Yeah. Corporates are there.
Kind of gives you the room to do the passion projects.
100%, yeah. And like anyone, you can look at any creative, especially in this day and age, and I guess this is such a tangent, sorry. Try and find me words. So especially on Instagram where everyone's got like this false persona of like putting photos on like, I'm out shooting here, I'm doing this. It's like, yeah, you are, but like no one sees the 80% of corporates and edits and stuff that you do. Like everyone does it. And like even musicians, like I know some massive musicians who are like playing huge shows, like they're still doing other jobs, they've got other side hustles, like and it's cool. Like, I just wish everyone would admit that. It's like, yeah, it's cool. It doesn't mean that you're not successful or you're selling out. It's like, I'd happily do corporates all day long. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting in an office selling insurance. Like, I'm still working for myself, still successful. And like everyone's hanging on to this stigma of like, I don't know, thinking it's like the 90s or whatever. And it's like, if you're in a band, you're the biggest band ever. It's like, then if you then admit that like, oh, I've got like a little coffee thing on the side, it's like, oh, you're not successful, then are you in your band? It's like, well, actually, I am. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think it's just when you get rid of that stigma of like, you're allowed a side hustle or you're allowed to do a corporate, doesn't mean that when you do a cool thing, it doesn't detract from that. Do you know what I mean?
I think that probably puts a lot of people off starting anything. Yeah. Because they don't see that like...
That's it. They don't see it. Like, they'll look at, maybe it's like that Dubai thing that I've done and be like, how do I achieve that? I'm just going to sit at home for 6 months with no work and hope that comes in. It's like, nah, like do 6 months of corporates and like pay your bills and be happy. And then if that lands on your door, sweet. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But it's the corporate, like no one ever sees that stuff.
Yeah, like it doesn't end up on your show reel. Yeah, so you've done like a
so people just think
done a video for the butchers down the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So people just like automatically assume that like you sit in your house for 6 months and then someone comes along with like $1 million and be like, "Do you want to do this?" It's like, no, it doesn't happen like that. Yeah, like it's almost like, you know, when you see like a duck in a pond, he's gracefully going on, but his legs are like that. Yeah, it's a bit like that, but there's no shame in it.
It's amazing, actually, like thinking, oh, there's so many mates that I know who are actually doing it.
Yeah.
Like you, like Lee Tuck. Like Dave. Yeah, just so many mates in so many different circles who were like doing their own thing.
Aye.
Because even now I still think like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like I should just go and get a job.
But no.
Yeah.
It's like, mate, you got your own house and you sit doing a podcast on a Wednesday afternoon with your pal.
Well, that's it. Right. And hopefully, mate, if people watching this follow your advice, they too could have a 2008 Passat.
Well, there you go.
180,000 miles. It's yours. Sat outside their terraced house.
It's yours though, isn't it, brother? Do you know what I'm saying?
That's me. Cheers, mate. I like how you're like, don't let people think that's my car.
No.
All right, son.
I mean, like, it's your car though. Like,
oh, right, sorry. I thought you meant, yeah, that's your car. I've got an Audi.
I wasn't throwing shade in. I meant, like there'd be people out there who, like, hate their job, get the bus to it every day. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, measure your, like, sometimes you have to check yourself and measure your success of, like, yeah, I'm self-employed, I've got a house and a car, like, wicked. Because I think a lot of people, and I'm guilty, I look around at what all my peers are doing and I'll be like, oh, they're off in, like, Dubai shooting, or they're in LA shooting. Oh, I'm sat at home doing this corporate thing. Yeah. Sometimes you've got to take stock. It's like, no, I've got my own house and like self-employed, and like if I want to sit, eat like a Belvita and drink a cuppa on a Wednesday, I can. Yeah. Like, that's success to me.
Well, you're a bloody talented guy.
Well,
you're a lovely man.
Hey.
You've got so much going for you, mate. You've fathered a child.
I have.
So kudos for that.
Your wife doesn't know though. No. So keep that on the down low.
Oh, I really want to put in like, that'd just be a great time to do a piss off. Piss off, Janine.
This was all a ruse, so you can see that. The three angles, isn't it?
Totally catfish the situation just for a piss off, Janine.
I'm gonna record something on my phone and send it. You put it in this podcast where I should be piss off, Richie.
I wouldn't be surprised.
There we go.
I'm looking forward to it, mate. But thank you for doing it.
Mate, a pleasure.
You're very engaging. I'll say that.
I ramble a lot, so apologies if this is not cohesive.
No, it's taking the pressure off me. So thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. No, mate, I honestly think it's a great thing you're doing, and I think the more that you do with different people, I think looking at it, once you've done 4 or 5, I think you'll start to see a common thread of like everyone goes through the same thing, no matter which field you're in, and I think it's important to talk about like
the struggles.
Yeah, that's it, mate. It's the like the mental health struggles, because that's at the core of it, really. It doesn't matter like what you do, you still wake up and have
shit yourself about everything.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm sure Dave will talk to you about like having a record label and the stuff he's done and the struggles, and his fingers in many pies.
Yeah.
So, no, I think it's a really good thing you're doing.
Cheers, man. One last clink with freezing cold beverages.
Cheers.